The screams echoed through the streets of Visburg. The first body was found slumped in an alley, as cold as marble. The second lay curled in her doorway, her eyes wide and frozen in horror. Then came the rats. They poured from the shadows, hundreds of them, their slick bodies swarming through the streets. Stefan knew what it meant. For years, the villagers had feared the castle looming above them. The sickness always came from there, the disappearances, the bodies drained of blood. But no one had dared to stop it, until now. Torches flickered as Stefan led two others, Lucas and Hans, up the path to the castle. The gates were open. "That's odd. They're never open," Hans muttered. Lucas swallowed. "Maybe someone else went in first." Stefan tightened his grip on the hammer at his waist. "Then we'll see for ourselves." He stepped forward. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then shadows moved. A shape emerged from the darkness. Something snatched Lucas, and the sound of tearing flesh filled the air. A second later, his body hit the ground. His chest was ripped open. Hans turned to run, but something caught him by the throat. Stefan raised his torch, and for the first time, he saw it. A horrifically thin figure, eyes black as the abyss, reflecting no light, no soul. A grin stretched across its corpse-like face, revealing fangs too long, too sharp. Hans let out a choked sound as the creature's mouth opened wide. Then it bit down. Stefan didn't wait. He ran. The last thing he heard was Hans gurgling on his own blood. Lenora had never feared the dark. She had spent her life chasing her dreams, playing in candlelit concert halls, composing through sleepless nights. So when she received a letter inviting her to perform at a castle for a wealthy patron, she ignored the villagers' warnings. The sum offered was extraordinary, but the moment she arrived, something felt wrong. The castle's gates stood open, as if expecting her. As she entered, the air was stale, thick with dust and something that smelled faintly of decay. Then she saw him. The Count stood at the end of the hall, beside a grand piano. He was tall and lanky. His eyes, hollow and black as death, gleamed in the candlelight.
"You have come,"
he murmured. "Yes," she managed to say. A long, heavy silence followed. Lenora expected him to say more, but the Count simply watched her. With a slow breath, she stepped toward the piano. The keys were cold beneath her fingertips. Then she played. The music stretched through the vast emptiness of the castle. The Count stood too still, listening with an intensity that made her skin crawl.
"I have waited for someone like you,"
he murmured. His fingers twitched as if resisting the urge to touch her. Lenora stood abruptly. "I think I'll turn in for the night." The Count smiled.
"Yes, rest. You will need it,"
he whispered. Lenora forced a smile, nodding stiffly as she turned away. She climbed the staircase and felt his eyes on her the entire way. Her room was lavish but cold. The bed was large, but the sheets smelled stale. She closed the door and made sure it was locked. The weight of exhaustion pulled at her, but sleep felt impossible in a place like this. She lay down, curling beneath the heavy blankets. Eventually, her breathing slowed, her mind drifted, and then a sound. Her eyes snapped open. The candle by her bedside had gone out. Something moved. She turned her head, then she saw him, standing at the foot of her bed, watching. The Count tilted his head.
"You are unlike the others.
He whispered. Lenora couldn't breathe.
You will not wither so easily."
Something inside her snapped. She threw herself off the bed, scrambling backward, her hands fumbling for the door. The lock wouldn't turn. Behind her, the Count took a step forward.
"You belong to me now."
he murmured. Lenora pounded on the door, desperate. The Count moved again. Then the lock clicked. Lenora wrenched it open and stumbled into the hallway. She didn't stop to question it. She ran. The corridors twisted in the dark, stretching longer than before. She didn't know where she was going. She turned a corner and froze. A door stood open. A gust of air rolled out from the dark, carrying a scent that made her stomach turn. And then a noise. A voice, weak, broken. Lenora's hands clenched into fists. She stepped forward. The chamber was small, walls lined with crumbling stone. And in the center, a man slumped against the wall. His skin was pale, his veins blackened, as if the blood had been rotting inside him. His eyes fluttered open at the sound of her footsteps. Lenora staggered back. "You shouldn't be here." His voice was barely a whisper. "You need help," she whispered, stepping closer. "No." His fingers twitched, grabbing her sleeve. His grip was ice cold. "Listen to me. You have to kill him." Her stomach dropped. "What?" His breath shuddered, like it hurt to stay alive. "He sleeps during the day." He coughed, blood dribbling from his lips. "Burn his coffin before it's too late." His hand trembled, his grip weakening. "If you don't, you will never leave." Her chest tightened. "How do you know?" Stefan's eyes closed. "Because we tried." His body went still. Lenora ran. Her hands were trembling, her heart racing. It was morning now. This was her chance. She had to find his coffin. Her legs felt like jello as she forced herself to move through the castle's twisting corridors. Lenora descended deeper, her pulse quickening as she reached the lower levels. The scent of decay filled her lungs. Then she saw it. A door sunken into the wall at the very bottom of the staircase. She pushed it open. The chamber was lined with empty coffins, their lids cracked and broken. But in the center of the room stood one coffin untouched. It was massive, its wood smooth, its edges lined with engravings that looked ancient. Her hand trembled as she grabbed a torch. A whisper slid through the air.
"Silly girl.
The Count stood in the doorway, still as death.
You disappoint me."
He murmured, stepping forward. The torch flickered in her hand. She couldn't let him get closer. With a sharp inhale, she swung the torch toward the coffin. The fire caught instantly, devouring the ancient wood in a burst of orange light. The Count screamed. He lunged toward her, but staggered mid-step, his body contorting violently, his fingers clawed at the air, his face twisting in a mix of rage and fear. The fire raged higher, spreading across the chamber walls. Lenora ran. The castle shuddered around her, the stone groaning as if the very foundation was cracking apart. She bolted up the twisting stairs, the heat of the fire chasing her. Then a new light. A thin beam of golden dawn sliced through the darkness ahead, slipping through a shattered window at the end of the hall. Lenora skidded to a stop. Behind her, the Count emerged from the fire, his body smoldering, cracking. His flesh was peeling away in strips. His voice was no longer a whisper. It was a shriek, a curse. The sunlight inched closer. He saw it and froze. For the first time, true fear filled his hollow eyes. The golden light spilled across his outstretched hand. His skin boiled, split open, turned to ash. Then the light crawled up his arm, his neck, his face, and he crumbled. His body disintegrated into dust, vanishing into the wind as if he had never been there at all. A final howl of rage echoed through the ruins, and then silence. The castle collapsed around her, flames consuming everything. She ran through the courtyard and past the rotting gates. By the time she reached the village, the castle had vanished into a heap of rubble and smoke. The village was silent. No more rats, no more sickness, No more death. Maya's pulse quickened as she and her friends ascended the narrow, winding path through the dense forest. They had been hiking for hours, led by Kai, who claimed to know the way to an ancient, forgotten shrine hidden deep in the woods. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" Haruka asked. "It's just an old shrine. Imagine the views we'll get on Instagram when we post about finding it," Kai replied. Maya forced a smile. She wasn't superstitious, but the stories she had read unsettled her. According to the legend, the shrine was dedicated to a powerful spirit that had been sealed away centuries ago. Enraged by the villagers who had forgotten it, it cursed the land, bringing misfortune to anyone who dared disturb its resting place. The forest grew denser as they climbed higher. Maya's skin prickled with a sense of being watched. Finally, they arrived at a small clearing. In the center stood the shrine. The shrine looked ancient, its surface weathered and cracked by time. At the base of the shrine lay a decapitated statue. The eerie stillness of the clearing made Maya's skin crawl, but she forced herself to step closer, curiosity and unease battling within her. As she hesitated near the shrine, her foot slipped on the uneven ground. Before she could catch herself, her boot came down hard on something solid. A sickening crunch echoed through the air as she realized what she had stepped on. Ahead. Maya recoiled in horror as she looked down at the head. "This place gives me the creeps," her eyes darting around the clearing. Kai was snapping photos with his phone, circling the shrine and capturing every angle. Maya hesitated, then pulled out her own phone to document their find. As they finished taking pictures, Kai approached the shrine and placed his hand on the stone surface. "Looks like there's some writing here," he said, squinting at the faded characters. "Don't touch it," Maya blurted out. "We don't know what could happen." Kai hesitated, his hand hovering over the faded stone surface. But curiosity got the better of him. "It's just an old shrine," he said, rolling his eyes as he brushed away more of the moss. The ground beneath them shook violently. "We should go," Haruka urged, her voice trembling. Yuki nodded in agreement, her eyes wide with fear. Reluctantly, Kai nodded, and they began to make their way down the path. But as they turned to leave the clearing, Maya froze. The shrine seemed to tremble, and a low, guttural growl echoed through the forest. "What the hell was that?" Kai whispered. Before anyone could answer, the ground split open, and a dark, shadowy figure emerged from the earth. It was a fox. Its fur was black as night, and its 9 tails moved like serpents behind it. Its eyes glowed a menacing red, and its sharp fangs gleamed in the dim light. It let out a bone-chilling screech. They bolted down the path, branches tearing at their clothes and faces as they fled. The fox chased them. Maya's lungs burned as she ran. She could hear the others behind her, their frantic breaths mingling with the sound of the creature's growls. As they neared the base of the mountain, Yuki suddenly screamed, her voice cut short by a sickening crunch. Maya glanced back, her heart stopping as she saw Yuki's lifeless body laying in a pool of blood. Her head twisted at an unnatural angle. Kai grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her forward. Tears streamed down her face as they sprinted through the darkness. They burst out of the forest and into the open, the lights of the village visible in the distance. For a brief moment, Maya thought they had escaped. But the fox was relentless. It lunged at Haruka, its claws raking against her back. She screamed in agony as she collapsed to the ground, blood pooling beneath her. Its growls filled the air. It was right behind them now. Desperation fueled her. pushing her to run faster than she ever had in her life. The village gate was up ahead, but as they reached the gate, Kai tripped, his body slamming into the ground. The sound of his impact was followed by a piercing screech. It was on him in an instant, its fangs sinking into his neck. Kai's eyes went wide with terror as blood spurted from the wound. Kai's body convulsed in pain, his screams echoing through the forest before abruptly cutting off as the fox crushed his windpipe with a sickening crunch. It turned to face Maya. A twisted grin spread across its face, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Maya fell to her knees, her stomach heaving as she vomited onto the ground. It stopped and looked up at her, its red eyes glowing. It slowly rose from Kai's mutilated body, its gaze locking onto Maya.
"You have awakened me, foolish girl,"
it hissed. The words weren't spoken aloud, but they reverberated inside her skull, drowning out her thoughts.
"You and your friends have desecrated my shrine, and now you will pay the price."
Maya's heart pounded as she backed away. She could see the village just a few feet away, but the fox blocked her path. It circled her slowly, its tails twitching with anticipation. Its form began to shift. It grew taller until it stood before her as a twisted version of herself. Its face was a grotesque mockery of Maya's own.
"Do you see now?"
it said.
"You cannot escape me, for I am a part of you."
Maya could feel its presence inside her. She staggered forward, trying to reach the village, but her legs gave way beneath her, and she collapsed onto the cold, hard ground. The world around her blurred, the village lights fading into the distance as the creature's malevolent presence consumed her. "You're not real," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible, as she clawed at the dirt trying to crawl away, but it only laughed.
"I am as real as your fears, your darkest desires. You woke me, Maya, and now you will never be rid of me."
With a final surge of willpower, Maya pushed herself onto her hands and knees. She had to make it to the village, to safety, anything that could break the hold over her. But as she rose, the ground shifted beneath her feet. She stumbled again, this time catching herself on the village gate. The fox, still in her twisted form, circled her.
"They can't help you."
Maya's breath came in ragged gasps as she looked at her hands, stained with blood and dirt, but the skin began to change, growing darker, more claw-like. She choked back a scream as she realized the kitsune was transforming her into one of its own. Suddenly, the ground beneath her split open with a deafening crack, and from the earth, the twisted spirits of the creature's past victims began to emerge. Their bodies were mangled and deformed, their eyes burning with hatred and sorrow. They surrounded her, clawing at her.
"You will join us,"
they whispered in a chorus of despair. Maya staggered back, but there was nowhere to run. She could feel their pain, their suffering, and it began to melt with her own. Their memories flooded her mind, visions of terror, of lives brutally cut short, of hope snuffed out by the relentless curse. The spirits that now tormented her weren't strangers. They were the villagers, those who had lived and died long before her time, and even her friends who had died just moments before. Their faces were familiar, but now distorted by the curse.
"You are the next,"
one spirit hissed, its breath cold against her neck. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the full horror of the situation. Its curse was ancient, and every generation it claimed another soul and turned them into the fox demon. And now Maya was to be its newest victim, forever trapped in this twisted world, her humanity lost to the malevolent spirit that had ensnared her. The shelter was loud. Dogs barked non-stop. Metal doors clanged. The air reeked of bleach, piss, and something sour. Some animals paced, others scratched. A few just stared. Kiko moved slowly through the noise, the stink, the heat. Then she found silence. At the far end, in a cage that seemed forgotten, a fat cat sat curled against the back wall. Not asleep, not tense, just watching. Its fur was rough, the tail was long. No name tag, no info. Kiko crouched. The cat's eyes were pale green. When she asked the worker about it, they shrugged. "No one really keeps track of that one," they said. "Sometimes people take it. It always comes back." Kiko looked back at it. It had been years since she had a pet. She didn't know why she came here today, but when she saw the cat, something settled in her. The pen felt heavy as she signed. The worker handed her the carrier. That was it. The cat didn't resist being brought home. It didn't make a sound. At her apartment, it walked around like it owned the place. It never meowed, never purred. It didn't rub against her legs or beg for food. But it was always nearby, in the doorway, at the base of the stairs, watching her. Her parents were staying with her for the weekend, a surprise visit. She hadn't mentioned the cat, but they noticed it right away. Her mother avoided it, stepped around its body whenever it was in the way. Her father barely acknowledged it. He spoke like it wasn't in the room, but he never entered one if it was already there. They didn't say anything about it. That night, Kiko woke up with a weight on her chest. The cat sat directly on top of her, staring into her eyes. She didn't move, didn't speak. Eventually, it blinked, then jumped down and petted out of the room. She lay there, heart pounding, eyes open to the dark. She whispered a name into the air, Mochi. Without knowing why, it didn't turn back, but it paused in the doorway. Then it vanished into the hall. The hallway was silent that night. Her father woke with a jolt. A tightening in his chest had woken him up, like something had entered the room while he slept. He sat up slowly, heartbeat heavy. He slipped out of bed in the dark. The spare room they were staying in was stuffy, the air too still. He opened the door. The hallway stretched ahead of him, narrow, dim, lit only by the weak yellow glow of the nightlight plugged into the wall near the kitchen. And at the far end, a figure stood. Kiko. She faced away from him, frozen in the center of the hallway. Her shoulders were stiff. Her arms hung too straight at her sides. He stared, confused. He called out her name. No movement. He called it again. That was when she turned. It was her face, but something was off. The eyes were wrong. Pale and glassy, catching the light like an animal's. Too reflective, too wide. Her mouth curled upward slowly into a smile that didn't belong to her. It didn't reach her eyes. It didn't look like anything a person would make. She took a step forward. He staggered back instinctively. Her movements were too smooth, too clean. A memory surfaced. A towel. A bridge. Cold night air. Eyes staring up from the water before it swallowed them whole. He had forgotten. No, he had buried it, and now it was standing in front of him. She stopped a few feet away. Her expression didn't change. She didn't blink. She opened her mouth. Her voice was flat.
You looked me in the eyes before you let go.
The hallway light flickered. A sharp pain bloomed in his chest. His knees buckled. He hit the floor hard. The air knocked from his lungs. His limbs twitched, reaching for something that wasn't there. His heart spasmed, like something had reached into him and twisted. She didn't move closer. She just watched. And as he lay gasping, the air between them thickened, dense, cold, heavy. It felt like water was pressing down on him and filling his lungs. Then all he saw was darkness. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The hallway warped around him, edges blurring. Her face began to shift. The skin beneath her eyes darkened. Her pupils shrank to slits. Her smile split too wide. Behind her, two tails rose slowly, curling through the air like smoke. They moved together silently. His body froze. His back arched sharply. Then nothing. Just pressure. He choked silently, collapsed fully. His eyes frozen open, staring at the shape that wore his daughter's face. He didn't breathe again. The light popped and went out, and the thing that wore her face shrank back into the form of a cat, silent and still, padding into the dark as if nothing had ever happened. When Kiko woke up, she found her father slumped against the hallway wall. His mouth hung slightly open. His hands rested in his lap like he had fallen asleep sitting up. There were no wounds. The air around him smelled faintly of river water, wet earth and decay. Her mother screamed when she saw him. Then she stopped and sank to her knees, crying. Kiko knelt beside him, reached out but hesitated. His skin was pale, cool. His neck held at a strange angle. She touched his wrist. No pulse. Suddenly, he moved. His head turned toward her like something was guiding it manually. His eyes opened, green. Too green. Not his color. Not any color a human should have. Kiko staggered back. Behind her, the cat sat at the end of the hall, watching, silent. Its tail swayed once. Her father's mouth moved.
You should tell her the truth now.
The voice was flat. It wasn't quite her father's, just close enough to sound like the memory of him. Her mother gasped, shook her head. No. The voice spoke again.
Tell her what you did to Mochi.
Her mother's eyes brimmed with tears. Please.
Tell her.
Kiko stared. Her limbs felt frozen. Her mother turned to her, eyes wide, chest heaving. Then the words came, broken. We didn't want to keep it. You were too young to have a cat. It was strange. It didn't act right. It kept watching us. Watching you. She shook her head, like trying to shake free of the memory. So we wrapped it in a towel, drove it to the bridge outside town. It was night. You were asleep. We didn't want you to see. We dropped it in the river, watched it sink. She looked at Kiko like she was drowning now too. We told you it ran away. The hallway dimmed. The light flickered once. The cat stood. Then it rose onto its hind legs. Its posture was wrong. Shoulders hunched, limbs too long. Then it dropped to all fours again, walked slowly to Kiko's side. Its voice, low, smooth, and not quite real, slipped into her mind.
I sank. I waited. And I changed.
The air thickened. The smell of river water rose. Her father's body slumped sideways. Whatever was holding it up let go. Her mother covered her mouth, sobbing now. I'm sorry. Kiko didn't answer. She turned and walked away to her room. The cat stayed behind. She slammed the door shut, and the apartment was silent again. Kiko needed to breathe, to think, to sit with what she'd just heard. She thought about the lie and how easily they said the cat ran away. How long it had taken her to stop crying. How long it had taken her to stop waiting by the door. How she had blamed herself. How she had tried to move on and accept that the cat must have died, not knowing that her parents were the monsters. She didn't know how long she stayed in her room, but when she finally opened the door, they were gone. Her mother, her father, her cat. No blood, no bodies, no sound. And on the kitchen table, paw prints, pressed into the wood. On the windowsill, More like a goodbye. When Marcus's real estate firm bought a stretch of rural land to develop vacation villas, he didn't think twice about the banana grove standing in the middle of it. It was just more space to clear. The locals warned them not to cut down the trees, but they didn't listen. On the first day of clearing, chainsaws roared through the misty air. Marcus watched the last tree fall, one with darkened bark and hanging frangipani blossoms. That evening, while surveying the land, he smelled those same flowers. That's when he found her. A woman stood barefoot in the mud, just a few feet from the tree stump. She wore a long white dress that clung to her like a second skin. Her black hair fell past her hips, glistening as if wet. She trembled. "Are you lost?" Marcus asked. She didn't answer. He took off his coat and wrapped it around her. "Come with me. You'll get sick out here." He called her Lila. She didn't seem to remember her name. Marcus brought her to the temporary bungalow he was staying in. She stared at the stump outside the window. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. "It was so loud when the tree fell." He thought she meant the noise had startled her. He brought her food every day. She always thanked him, but he never actually saw her eat. Weeks passed. One night, he found her standing barefoot on the porch, staring at the stump. "This feels like home," she said without looking at him. "Then stay here," Marcus said, gently taking her hand. After 6 weeks, they got married. His friend Ethan raised an eyebrow when he found out. "You're not serious," he said. "You married her?" Marcus grinned. "You've seen her. Can you blame me?" Ethan frowned. "That's not what I mean. You don't know anything about her. She came out of nowhere." Marcus's smile faded. "You sound jealous." Ethan laughed. "I'm just saying, you need to be careful." They let it drop for a while. But Marcus started noticing how often Ethan watched her. Then one day, Marcus found him standing too close to her. After that, Marcus asked him to leave the project. They had a heated argument at work. "You're letting her change you," Ethan snapped. "You're just bitter," Marcus shot back. "You're done here. Don't come back." Ethan stared at him. Then he said quietly, "She's not what you think." Marcus dismissed him. Still, something about Lila started to unsettle him. At night, she'd stare out the window at the banana tree stump. Lila grew thinner, paler. Marcus offered to take her to the doctor, but she refused. "It's nothing," she said. "Just tired." One afternoon, Ethan visited their home while Marcus was working. He found her brushing her hair in the mirror. Her long locks were lifted off her back, revealing the back of her neck, and something sticking out of it. A long, rusted nail. Ethan gasped. She turned, startled. Her eyes filled with fear. "You haven't fed," Ethan said softly. She looked away. "I don't want to. I'm not that anymore." "You don't have to be scared. You deserve it. You didn't ask for this." "No," she whispered. But he touched the nail and gently pulled. Lila screamed. The next morning, a local farmer reported his goats missing. They were scattered through the woods. The animals had been torn open. Each was missing its heart. Their necks bore 2 puncture marks. When Marcus came home that night, Lila was glowing. Her skin had a warm flush for the first time in weeks. Her eyes sparkled. She moved with effortless grace, her laughter echoing in the kitchen as she danced barefoot. She pulled Marcus in for a kiss. "I feel wonderful today." The livestock attacks didn't stop. Each morning another report. Goats, chickens, drained, split open, hearts missing. Marcus tried not to see the connection. But the village dogs did. When they walked into town, dogs growled and barked from behind fences. Lila didn't flinch. She locked eyes with it, and her lips pulled back into a grin. The dogs would stop, then run away. The villagers started whispering. One day, an old woman sitting outside muttered just loud enough for them to hear. "She was bound to that tree. You freed her." Lila stopped mid-step. The elder didn't look up.
You should have stayed buried with your curses.
Lila turned slowly. Her voice dropped to a near whisper.
Watch your tongue before I rip it out.
The elder didn't move, but Marcus did. He tugged Lila away, smiling awkwardly. Let's go. Later that night, he couldn't stop thinking about it. He started waking in the middle of the night to strange sounds. Floorboards creaking, soft rustling by the door. He once found the front door ajar. Then came the stains, mud on her feet, dried dirt across the sheets. One night, dark smudges near her nails that smelled like iron. When he asked, she said she'd been sleepwalking. Marcus wanted to believe her. One night, Ethan returned while Marcus was at dinner with coworkers. He didn't knock. He walked in and found Lila standing just inside the door, smiling and ready for him to remove the nail. An hour later, she returned. Her white dress was soaked red from the chest down. Her hands trembled. Her face was streaked with tears and blood. She didn't look at him. Her eyes were wide, unfocused, locked on something only she could see. I didn't mean to, she whispered. Ethan got up from the couch. What did you do? I didn't want to hurt her. I just needed... She paused. I didn't know she was pregnant. Not until I smelled it. And by then, she felt her knees. It smelled so good I couldn't stop it. It came back. The craving. The need. Ethan crouched beside her, not touching her. You were feeding on animals. You were controlling it. I tried. Her voice broke. But it's never enough. Then she told him everything. She had died alone in the woods, pregnant and bleeding. After her lover abandoned her, she screamed for help, but no one came. Her child died inside her. She was buried in a shallow grave beneath the banana trees, but she didn't move on. Her rage rooted itself in the earth. The banana tree grew from her body, and her spirit fused with it, bound, dormant, dreaming in the dark, until Marcus came, until he cut it down. He freed me, she said, but I wasn't ready. Ethan sat back, stunned. He had suspected the truth, but not all of it. She looked at him, blood still dripping from her chin. What do I do now? He didn't answer right away, then quietly, You should clean yourself up before he gets home. She did. When Marcus returned, he saw Ethan stepping off the porch. Rage flooded him. What are you doing here? I tried to warn you, Ethan said. She's dangerous. Marcus punched him. The two fought, fists slamming into flesh until Ethan staggered back, clutching his ribs. Tell him the truth. Ethan looked at Lila. Before it's too late. Then he ran away. Under a full moon, Lila walked over to Marcus, tears in her eyes. Do you love me? She asked. Of course. Would you love me if I had scars? He looked at her confused. Why? She hesitated. If I had something ugly, something shameful, would you still love me? Yes. She turned away. In the moonlight, he saw something metallic on her neck. What's that? She stiffened. There's something you should know about me. He reached over and brushed her hair aside. Is this a piercing? Is that why you never put your hair up? He touched the metal. Her body froze. Don't. He pulled. The nail came loose with a soft pop. At first, nothing happened. Then she began to shake. Her back arched unnaturally. Her mouth opened in a silent scream. Her skin grayed. Her hair floated around her like smoke. Lila? She turned. Her eyes were now blood red. Her mouth stretched wide, revealing rows of blackened, broken teeth. Her face bloated. Her nails extended into claws. A stench of decay hit him like a wall.
Why did you do that?
She hissed. I thought... She screamed in his face, so loud his ears bled. Then she ripped open his chest and tore out his heart. Still clutching it, She walked barefoot into the night, blood trailing behind her. She disappeared into the banana grove. The stump was blooming again. Rain drummed steadily on the tin roof as Lena pressed her palms to her belly. The pain came in waves now. A hand knocked once, twice. It was her neighbor's voice that called through the storm.
The midwife is here.
Lena struggled to the door. On the steps stood Maksari, an older woman wrapped in a black shawl. Her presence had an unnatural calm to it. "I wasn't expecting anyone yet," Lena said, stepping back. "I come when the first child is near," the woman replied. Maksari moved with precision. She lit candles, boiled water, wiped Lena's face with a cloth that smelled faintly of vinegar. Her hands were cool and steady. "This baby will come soon, but not tonight," she said. Lena blinked. "How do you know?" Maksari didn't answer. Instead, she closed the windows and pulled a thick woven mat over the cracks in the door. "Keep the night out." That night, Lena couldn't sleep. Something creaked above her, maybe the wind. The next morning, she asked the neighbor about the midwife. "She's from across the river. People say she only comes when she chooses. My mother used her. Said she was strange, but skilled." Lena nodded, unconvinced. That night, she began locking her bedroom door. On the third day, Lena woke with a startle. Her curtains fluttered, though the windows were shut. A faint smell like old vinegar hung in the air. She opened the door to the hallway. Maksari was standing still at the edge of the room. "Did you sleep?" she asked, tone unchanged. "I thought I heard something." "Only wind. Rest. The child comes soon." Lena said nothing, but her skin crawled. Each time she blinked, she expected to see someone standing in the dark corner of her room. By the fourth day, Lena began to notice small things. Her vinegar jar was missing from the kitchen. A faint sticky residue remained. In the corner of the guest room, a jar she hadn't placed, filled with dark liquid. That night, she moved the jar outside. By morning, it was back, sitting precisely where it had been. She opened it just once. The smell made her gag, like rotted meat steeped in acid. She called her cousin Nita, who worked in the clinic, and asked her to check on her. Nita arrived at dusk and greeted Maksari politely, but after a few moments alone, she whispered, "You shouldn't be alone with her." "Why? She doesn't blink." Lena almost laughed. "That's not a reason. Her hands are cold as the dead. My mother told me stories, old stories, about women who don't sleep at night, who fly." That evening, Nita slept on the floor beside Lena's bed. Just after midnight, Lena awoke to wet slapping sounds from down the hall. She froze. Nita stirred beside her, but didn't wake. The sound stopped. Then came a low creak, slow like weight shifting on old wood. Lena reached for her phone. No signal. She crept from the bed, opening her door just a crack. Down the hallway, the candlelight glowed faintly under the guest room door. Shadows moved strangely, as if something was floating. Watching, waiting. The next morning, Nita was gone. Maksari said she left before dawn. "No," Lena insisted. "She would have woken me." "She said not to disturb you." Lena searched the yard. No footprints. Just a dark smear on the floor near the door. Vinegar. She stared at the stain for a long time, dread pressing down on her chest. It hadn't just spilled. It had spread, slowly, deliberately, long enough to notice that it had pooled in the shape of a hand. That afternoon, Lena pretended to nap. She waited until Maksari left to fetch water from the stream, then moved quickly through the guest room. Inside, the jar again. But this time, others too. 4 arranged in a neat row beneath the bed. all sealed tight, glistening in the dim light like something ritualistic. Her hands trembled as she uncorked one. The smell hit her instantly. Vinegar, wrought iron. Thick enough to make her gag. And floating inside, something fleshy. A shriveled, twisted organ, pale and veined. She stumbled back. A loose floorboard near the far wall caught her eye. She pried it open and found a wrapped bundle beneath. Rotting gauze, stained cloth, and a thick book. Inside were handwritten entries. Names, births, deaths. The last entry, Lena, one unborn, strong. She didn't sleep that night. Just after 2 a.m, the candles went out on their own. From the hallway came the sound of something sliding across the floor. Wet, heavy, then dripping. She pushed the dresser in front of her door and backed away. A thud. Then silence. At dawn, she waited until she saw Maksari leave. Then she ran to the old village temple. The monk there was ancient, but he listened carefully as Lena spoke. When she mentioned vinegar, his expression darkened.
There are still some left. She is one,
he said quietly. What is she?
She was once a woman. Long ago, she bathed in vinegar to preserve her organs when she left her body.
Lena went pale. She leaves her body?
At night, her head and entrails fly free. She seeks the blood of the unborn.
She's been in my house for 5 days. The monk nodded grimly.
Then you must act tonight. She weakens you, makes you ripe for feeding. If you wait until labor, it will be too late.
He pressed a bundle into Lena's hands.
Glass shards, sacred thorns, salt. Place them around your home. She cannot pass them without pain.
He paused.
There is one more way to stop her. If you find her body while she is away, turn it upside down. She will not be able to reattach.
That night, Lena prepared silently. Glass beneath the windows. Thorns by the doors. A circle of salt around her bed. She didn't speak when Maksari returned. Just watched her carefully. Maksari sat in the corner and hummed.
You look tired.
I'll rest soon, Lena replied. At midnight, Lena heard the click of the guest room door, then silence. Then a grotesque slithering sound, as though something wet was being pulled through a narrow space. Then a faint flap of something rising. She forced herself to stay still. The roof creaked. Then something brushed the window. Lena froze. A second later, a scream tore through the night. From above, she heard Maksari's voice howling. Lena bolted. Down the hall into the guest room. The air inside was heavy, sour with vinegar. The room was still. Only the black shawl lay folded beside the mat. And the body. It was there on the floor. Pale, slack, headless. Lena didn't hesitate. She grabbed it by the shoulders and heaved it upside down, heart pounding so loud she could barely hear the creak of the roof above her. Then the ceiling exploded, glass and wood raining down as the creature crashed through, its entrails writhing like wet ropes. Its floating head jerked toward Lena, eyes wide with fury.
Silly girl,
it hissed.
You are nothing. I have drained thousands in their sleep.
Lena stepped back, one hand reaching blindly behind her for the pouch of salt. The creature surged forward, stretching toward her belly. She hurled a fistful of salt straight into its path. The creature shrieked, twisting midair. Smoke curled from its organs as the salt sizzled through them. It darted left, then right, panicking, but the body on the floor remained inverted, useless and unreachable. It turned its head toward Lena again, lips curled back in rage.
You'll never be safe.
Then, with a final gurgling cry, it launched itself upward into the night, crashing through the hole in the roof and vanishing beyond the treetops. Maksari was gone. A week later, Lena gave birth, alone and safely, a girl. But the midwife's book remained. The final page now read, Lena, one born, escaped. And beneath it, written freshly in red, but I do not forget. Jade hadn't slept properly in days. Not since the algorithm started feeding her videos of Labubu unboxings. The excitement on strangers' faces as they tore open boxes, revealing little monsters with toothy grins. Have-a-seats, macaroons, big into energies. She watched the lives past midnight, hoping to score one. It started as a distraction and turned into an obsession. She told herself it was nostalgia, maybe healing her inner child, but really, she just wanted to open one herself. Every time she tried to buy one, the store was sold out within seconds. Bots probably, resellers. She hated them. But eventually she gave in. She found a reseller online. People had posted legit-looking reviews. He offered to meet her in person. They met in a park in the afternoon. She held her phone in one hand, recording just in case. The reseller looked fine, normal enough. He wore a hoodie, clean sneakers, and jeans. But his face was pale. Eyes were bloodshot. Not sick, just tired. He looked burned out. He handed over a sealed big box.
A full set,
He said.
might get a secret. Might not.
She reached for her wallet and paid an obscene amount. The reseller stared at her a moment too long.
No refunds. No trades. You're bound forever.
What? But he was already walking away. When she got home, she didn't unbox them right away. She set them on her desk and stared at the box. She turned on her ring light, mounted her phone, and hit record. Her hands trembled slightly. Okay, she whispered. First unboxing. She opened the larger box to reveal 6 smaller ones, perfectly lined inside. She picked one up, turning it over in her hands. Slowly, she opened her first Labubu. It was cute, fluffy, grinning, exactly like the videos. She laughed softly. Oh my god, it's real. She turned it over in her hands, admiring the tiny teeth, the soft fur. The color was perfect. She set it gently on the table and opened the next one. Another perfect pull. The one she wanted. Her smile widened. Each box brought something new. She felt like a kid again. Her hands were shaking with excitement. Okay, she said, breathless. Last one. She held it in both hands. It felt heavier. She paused, smiled nervously at the camera. Maybe I'll get lucky. What are the odds this is the secret? She tore the foil, closed her eyes, and pulled it out. The figure looked like a Labubu. Same toothy grin and pointy ears. But something was wrong. Its smile was too wide. Its eyes were slightly uneven. Its fur coarse and dirty. There wasn't a logo, no QR code. And inside the foil wrapper at the bottom, soil. She frowned. What the hell? She muttered. She held it up to the camera. Ugh, seriously? Damn it. A Lafufu. She carefully placed the 5 Labubus on her shelf, adjusting them until they looked just right. They were even better in person. Cute, detailed, perfect. Then she glanced at the Lafufu. She turned it over in her hand. Annoyed, she ended the video and tossed it into the trash. Later, she transferred the footage to her laptop to edit. When she pulled the Lafufu from the wrapper, the footage warped and stretched unnaturally. But it wasn't just her. The Lafufu moved. In the video, its head turned slowly toward the camera. She paused it and tried to play it again, but it was just a black screen. She kept trying. Nothing. Just black frames and silence where that moment had been. She sat back, uneasy, and turned toward the trash can. It was empty. Her eyes darted across the room. The Lafufu was sitting on her desk. Creeped out, she picked it up, shoved it into her drawer, and closed it. That night, she fell asleep quickly. In the morning, her apartment was quiet. Then she turned toward her shelf. Her stomach dropped. All 5 Labubus were destroyed. Arms and heads ripped off. Fluff everywhere. One was missing an eye. Another missing its legs. The Lafufu was on the ground next to the shelf. Its smile hadn't changed. She had enough. She was going to destroy it. She held it over the stove. Nothing. The flame curled but didn't touch the surface. No bubbling, no melting. She tried a knife, dug into its side. The blade bent. She threw it into the hot oven and slammed it shut. When she turned around, it was sitting on the table behind her. Her energy drained. Her hands shook when she tried to do any task. She couldn't finish her sentences at work. She looked thinner, but the Lafufu looked cleaner, sharper, brighter. She stopped going outside. Instead, she scrolled. Reddit became her only companion. Threads about haunted dolls, cursed figures, folklore, and plastic toxicity. Most of it was nonsense. She read it all anyway. One night, buried deep in an old post about haunted toys, she found a link to a Norwegian blog post. It was translated. A forest spirit, not worshipped, but respected. Offerings were left at the edge of the woods. When the forest was cleared, the shrine destroyed, and the land paved over, disaster followed. Drought, deaths. So someone tried to bind the spirit, to trap it. It does not die, they wrote. It only shifts, and waits to be remembered. Then it said, they rest in soil. That's the only time they forget they were alive. She remembered the dirt that clung to the Lafufu when she unboxed it. The soil in the foil wrapper. It had been asleep. She woke it up, and now she knew what she had to do. That night, the Lafufu was even more active. She turned off the lights, climbed into bed, rolled over. She immediately heard tiny footsteps coming from the desk to the nightstand. A voice just beside her ear.
You called me something else.
Her breath caught. She couldn't move.
That's not my name.
She threw off the blanket and turned on the light. The figure stood still, head tilted up toward her, smile unchanged. She got up and tried to escape, but when she opened the door, it was already in the hallway, blocking her exit. She slammed the bedroom door and locked it. Her phone was dead. She looked down. Her arms were covered in scratches, not deep, just enough to sting. And on the wall, scratched into the paint, no escape. She resisted as long as she could, but the scratches were getting deeper, long scratches down her arms, finger-shaped marks around her ankles. Her reflection looked unfamiliar, dark circles and vacant eyes. The Lafufu spoke more now.
We are bound forever, just you and me.
Every time she opened her eyes, it was there, sitting at the edge of the bed, whispering. She didn't want to do it, but it gave her no choice. She remembered the Reddit comment, "Forest spirits rest in soil. That's the only time they forget they were alive." She emptied a small planter from her desk, pressed the soil into an empty Labubu box. Then she turned and froze. The Lafufu wasn't there. A soft tapping came from above. She looked up. It was crawling along the ceiling, one hand after another. Its limbs dragged, then lifted too smoothly, like it was being pulled by invisible strings. It paused above her, head slowly tilting, smile fixed. Then it dropped, landing on her head. She screamed and grabbed it, fingers sinking into its soft body as it squirmed in her hands. It bit her hard between her thumb and index finger. She tore it off. Blood welled up instantly. The bite was deep. She forced it down into the dirt. It shrieked, its limbs twisted, its torso bent. Fingers scratched into her skin as she pushed. It was still moving when the soil touched its back, still fighting when she covered its face, tiny arms pushing weakly against her fingers. Its mouth opened one last time, still whispering.
Bound forever.
Then it went still. She didn't wait. She sealed the box, glued it shut, wrapped it in bubble wrap, and packed it inside another box. Then she sat at her desk, opened her laptop, and listed it. Labubu, big into energy. Rare. She didn't lie. She just left out everything else. It sold within hours.